All rise.
This is Deeper Than Money. Talk to me. I want viewers watching my show to believe in themselves.
Judge Hatchett is compelling.
If he is not going to honor you, he needs to be gone.
Compassionate.
I don't want you to give up on your dreams. I don't. And I want to figure out how we get this straight.
She's powerful.
If I were in this situation, I would have put you out too.
And she's on the bench.
I feel like I'm being judged here.
That's what I do.
You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. Sammy Wright is suing Becca Banford in the amount of $6,000. Ms. Wright claims she was fired from her job at the defendant's bar and says Ms. Banford would no longer allow her to breastfeed at work.
All right, Ms. Wright, you're in here suing Ms. Banford, who was your former employer.
That is correct.
And you're saying that she fired you because you were breastfeeding your child.
Yes.
And you're suing her for some $6,000 for lost wages. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
All right, so tell me how long had you been working for her? What did you do? Tell me what happened.
I worked for Miss Banford's bar in Hollywood for about 4 months. At the time of hiring, I was very upfront about the fact that I had a 6-month-old daughter and that I would need to pump at work to make sure I had enough to feed her. I didn't want to go back to work right away, but I'm a single mom and I needed to pay for my daughter to survive. And the first month went fine, but then she asked me to start picking up more shifts, and I did it to help out. But by month 3, she started making comments, and by month 4, she comes up to me in the middle of a shift and goes, "This is your last day."
All right, Ms. Banford, what happened? You hired her with the understanding that she was breastfeeding her child and that she needed to pump. Is that understood?
Yes, Your Honor.
So tell me what happened.
When I interviewed Sammy for the position, I actually had an understanding with her because I too am a single mother, and I started my establishment as a single mother, breastfeeding with a brand new baby. So I took her on thinking that I kind of saw a little bit of drive that I had in her, and it wasn't about her taking on more shifts. It was more or less she wanted to make some money.
So she could have declined the additional shifts?
Of course she could have.
And she could have continued to work?
Absolutely.
Did you take on the additional shifts because you needed more work? You needed more money? You needed to earn more money? I mean, honestly.
I took on more shifts because she asked me to, because we were understaffed.
Not true.
I did it to help her. I asked her to give me
prime time
better shifts, yes, and I did get those. But on top of that, she asked me to work even more. I was working 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes doubles, multiple times. I have a 6-month-old at home that I barely get to see.
My point is, though, Ms. Wright, I mean, just being really honest, I want to be honest about this. Of course. Even if she was understaffed, it would be her responsibility to go out and find some people to hire, right?
Yes.
And that the real question is, did you take on all these additional times because you needed the money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that wasn't really on her. She says that you could have declined those additional shifts, but you chose to take on. And I'm not being critical of you. I get it. You're a single mom, a brand new baby, and being a new mom with a new baby and working is not easy. I know that. So it sounds like to me that things were okay as long as we were at the first level of shifts.
Correct.
And responsibilities.
Correct.
And as you took on more shifts and more responsibilities, that things became more complicated. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
On her own accord, by the way. She wanted to.
Well, and this is what she's saying now.
Right.
I think she's saying I wanted to help out, but I think she also really acknowledges that it was helping her financially.
Correct.
To take on more responsibilities. So what did you observe once that happened?
What started happening is, in fact, I actually created an environment for her to pump in my office. So during the periods that she would have to take her break and go into my office, I would then go and watch the bar, basically do her shift while she's in my office.
I really do appreciate that.
Well, you're welcome.
So what happened?
Well, what
This is I'm
happened
trying to
was
understand
it
what
turned
happened.
out to be a 20-minute time period. Then all of a sudden she's gone for 45 minutes. She really abused that time that I gave her. So her and I kind of started having just a brief conversation with her about her time management because it was ludicrous. And again, this doesn't go back to the fact that I had to fire her for the breastfeeding. It's not about that. Her time management is off. She's was completely tardy every single day. There was tons of excuses.
Coming up on The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
The only times I was tardy was for my child.
Well,
Because I couldn't find childcare.
90%
because
of the
she
time.
was scheduling me so often.
If you'll be in the Los Angeles area and want to bring your case to court, call 1-888-552-6878. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Sammy Wright, who is suing Becca Banford for $6,000.
Talk about this. So what you're telling me is that, Judge, it wasn't that I fired her because of the breastfeeding. But you've told me a few things. You told me that you accommodated her, that you agreed that she made space in her office,
Yes.
and that she accommodated you for these breaks for breastfeeding.
Yes.
What I am hearing is something different now, that there were other problems
Of course, yes.
that really impacted her ability to work and your ability to run the bar efficiently.
Exactly.
So that's what I want to understand. Tell me what happened.
What happened over time, it was consistent tardiness and excuses. And again, it went from like a 20-minute pump break to hours, well, an hour.
So when you say she was tardy, you said she was tardy every day, every time.
90% of the time.
That's a lot. Is that true?
The only times I was tardy was for my child.
Well,
Because I couldn't find childcare.
90%
Because
of the
she
time.
was scheduling me so often. Yes, I needed the money. Yes, I needed the shifts. But she also had control of the schedule. She never wrote me up for anything. We only had these talks about time management, which was really her making comments under her breath about, really? Again? Did you wash the dishes? What about the customers?
So how did this get to a tipping point? What triggered your decision to terminate her?
Well, it was, again, probably the last month that she was,
When she finally hired 3 new employees.
well, it was the last month while she was there. Again, I did make certain hints, like, you're late again, and then Your Honor.
I'm going to stop you right there. As a business owner, no more hints,
Right.
right? No more hints.
Thank you.
You need to be very clear. You need to voice
Right.
your concerns, and you need to put it in writing.
Right.
As a business
My
owner.
biggest mistake, yes.
Yes. You know, this is a teachable moment.
Right.
That you can't say, you can't go under your breath, oh, late again, or, oh, I'm so disgusted, or whatever. You have to say, listen, Sammy.
And write it down.
You have been late 3 of the 4 days this week. And you need to write it down.
Right.
And you need to say, this is your first warning. It happens again. Maybe you give another warning. You put that in writing. And so that you have documented very clearly what it is that you're concerned about. But this whole giving hints is not what you do as a businesswoman.
The under the breath comments were more sincere than what she's making them sound to be. And in fact, half the time, many of the time, she would have our other staff covering her shifts. So Lacey or Zach would walk in when it was her shift, so I was suddenly...
I would tell you ahead of time.
You did not. You did not. And so my business is completely up in the air with scheduling because she has other people covering her, or it wasn't clear in their text messages, which I have, Your Honor,
Let me see these.
of the many times that she has text messaged the other employees to cover her shifts.
I was very clear with her whenever I had anyone covering
That's
or
not
when I
true.
was going to be late.
Did you put it in writing? Did you text her directly?
No,
or
I
just...
texted her directly.
No, in fact, there's an email exchange that you have with the other employees, one complaining about her consistent...
Well, no. There's one that says, "Hi, Becca, sorry for the late notice, but I won't be able to come today." I mean, that's on the day that you're not coming.
Yes.
I couldn't find anyone to watch my daughter. You say, "For real, I know being a new mom is hard, but I'm short-staffed as it is. I need someone here. Don't worry, I got Zach to cover my shift."
Right.
But the appropriate way to do is say, "I've already contacted Zach. I'm letting you know that he's covering my shift." And, you know, sometimes emergencies come up and you can't do that in advance.
But, Your Honor...
But it seems like this is going on a lot. I mean, this seems to be a trend.
Yes.
With...
Or Zach would just show up when I was expecting Sammy to be there. So...
My daughter has a cold. I can't come.
Right.
I feel like I should stay with her today. I get that.
Chronically.
I'm sorry I got Zach to cover. And it's on and on and on. I'm running a little late today, but I will be there in 30 minutes. There's a lot of things that say that you were late a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was really last minute to find cover a lot of times.
I understand.
I have a very small support system.
I understand.
It's pretty much just me and my sister. And that's...
I understand.
She can't always watch my daughter.
I understand.
So,
I
Your
do
Honor, I
understand.
should also, before, I kind of feel like I'm actually on the up and up on this case. However, it got to the point where then her sister would bring in the baby to the bar so that the baby could breastfeed in the office.
When I was on break.
But still,
And she would leave
can
when
you
my
imagine?
break was over.
Coming up,
The day I had to let her go, she needs to go work in a daycare or somewhere that's a little more accommodating for children.
you're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Sammy Wright, who is suing Becca Banford for $6,000.
So this was at the tail end of everything. So then the baby's coming in with her sister and everybody's excited to see the baby. I have to admit, goo goo gaga, I was too.
Cute kid.
But again, this started happening on a regular when she worked, because now she's not pumping, she has to feed. So
I would have been
it's just-
pumping if I
we're in a
wasn't
bar.
actually feeding her.
But again, she needs, and as I said to her the day I had to let her go, she needs to go work in a daycare or somewhere that's a little more accommodating for children.
Right.
And breastfeeding.
You know,
Not
it's
a
very
common-
interesting you say that because I'm thinking that a job where there is
In a bar.
child care on the premises would be ideal for you.
Exactly.
Not that easy to find, but working in a bar with all of these complicated shifts and having a new baby and only having your sister as support really doesn't add up. Because what happens, let me tell you what happens, is that the stress of not knowing day to day what's going to happen with this precious baby and how you're going to make it and how you're going to make ends meet just adds and compounds to the stress. New mothers, under the best of circumstances, that have this amazing support system, that have people who come into their homes, it's still a challenge, right? There would be days, honestly, when I was thinking, you know, why don't these women get it together before I had a baby, right? And I'd look up and it would be 2 o'clock and I would still be in my pajamas. You know, that was the best I could do that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still have on my bathrobe.
Coming up,
I'm not being critical. Honest to goodness, if anybody understands where you are and what you're going through. I do. I honestly do.
You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett. The Verdict with Judge Hatchett is back with the case of Sammy Wright, who is suing Becca Banford for $6,000.
And I had told this amazing civil rights icon that I was going to work on his autobiography while I was home on maternity leave. Do you know, I hardly knew my name some days. How was I going to write somebody's autobiography, right? I mean, listen, I barely knew my own name some days. It is not easy. And I'm not being critical. Honest to goodness, if anybody understands where you are and what you're going through, I do. I honestly do. But I also know that she had a business to run. And her business did not say that she had to accommodate you over and over and over and over again. Now, what we are going to do is that before you leave this courthouse today, I'm going to have somebody reach out to a social worker and see if we can't find and help you with some job placement.
Bravo.
In a place that can then have child care on the premises, so that you can go on breaks, you can breastfeed her, you can see about her, you can take her to work and drop her off in the child care center, and you can work, and you know that she's fine and she's taken care of, right? Now, that's not going to solve all the problems. That's not. But that will go a long way in helping to bring some stability and some consistency in your life. And we're going to have somebody working on that so that we can try to get you some help on that, all right?
Judge Hatchett's verdict when we return. You're watching The Verdict with Judge Hatchett.
If I thought for a moment that she had done this out of malice, or that she had fired you just because you were breastfeeding this precious baby, I would have a very different approach to this case. I don't believe that's true. I believe that she cared about you. I believe that she took you under her wing, as she describes it. I think that she wanted you to succeed. I think she saw some of herself in you, as she's told me, the passion, the drive to get it done. Now, what we are going to do, under these circumstances, Sammy, I am going to deny your claim.
Thank you.
For the reasons I have stated. And honest to goodness, I wish you well. And I thank you also for making the accommodations that you did for this young mother.
I tried.
Nothing further. We will stand adjourned. Plaintiff's claim is denied.
Judge Hatchett has ruled in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff's claim has been denied.
Gather your belongings. Let's exit to the rear of the court. Come this way, please.
I'm sorry. You know I'm going to take care of you. You know I'm going to take care of you. Thank you. You know I will. You should have came to me before. We had to get here. Appreciate it.
This has been a production of Allen Media Group.